Okay. So let's see, John, you're back. There you are. Okay, I've got you.
Cool.
Hey Jeff, I'm on the phone now.
Okay, so you're the 238-8895?
Right.
Who is this?
That's Evelyn Bryant.
Evelyn. Okay, so I'll put Evelyn's phone in the session. So it looks like we've got everybody assigned. Okay. So just for all the other facilitators' reference, that'll be the first thing we'll have to check out when we start a session. Okay, very good. Let me...
He's being notified he won the lottery.
Yeah, right. Trying to figure how I silence this thing. Okay. We are going to ignore that for a minute. Okay. So I'm going to share this. Okay, can everybody see this? Attracting members?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do is talk about attracting members. So like Jeff, we have a main topic. I can lead and promote my club's re-examination of its distinctive position in my community and the quality of members we attract. So that was a little fuzzier, but goals are pretty straightforward. Define the attributes of a good Rotarian. And I'm just going to ask, can everybody see me highlighting that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. And we're going to explore how my club can attract good Rotarians. So as a comment on the materials for everybody, when you see the material list, the ones that are diamonds like this are attached. And we're actually going to use those. So I won't talk any more about those. The others are online documents. Just as a comment, the one they call a classification survey there is almost nothing. It's just a blank form. It's not too interesting. But this membership development resource guide and how to propose a new member really are pretty good. I would say finding them can be a challenge sometimes. I would suggest if you ever go to Google, just type in that much 417-EM. That means it's document 417 in English. And if you do that, you can pretty quickly find these kind of documents. Okay.
Yes,
So we're gonna-
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I didn't get this material. So will this be sent to us by email?
I thought I
Go ahead.
thought I had sent you a link for this, but I will send it to you right now.
We're getting some feedback.
Yeah,
I don't know if other people hear that.
I hear it too.
I did too. Okay, I'll do it myself again. I just was going to make sure. Would you mind sending me that again, please, Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're going to we're going to stop that share and actually let me go to, we are going to go back to that. We're going to just talk, here's what I want to do. We're going to talk about these first two topics here because there's some general good concepts about attracting members. And then number three, we're going to break into two groups, and each group will work on a plan for attracting new members. And then what we're going to do is get back together, and we'll talk about them. So we'll show you how all that works. So we've got a first question here. Where in our community can we find potential good Rotarians? So I guess the first question might be for everybody, what's a good Rotarian? What are we looking for?
Well, the first thing I think of when I think of Rotarians, and this is from my past, growing up hearing about Rotary, is they're business leaders in the community. And now that I'm a member, it seems that being a service organization is now the new directive. And sometimes I'm not sure if those mesh terribly well. So I guess what is the main impression of what Rotary is?
Well, that is a good point. And that has been a shift in Rotary, away from this notion that somebody has to be the top person in an organization. But yes, that would still be desirable, but not necessarily required. What else would you be looking for? What would you be looking for a new member for your club?
I guess I often, when I'm thinking about kind of recruitment, I look for people who have, our club president talks about kind of a Rotary spirit, this idea of wanting to help advance our community. And so sometimes it is someone who's innovative in their field and is a business person. But sometimes it's also someone who's kind of in that phrase where they've maybe just been promoted and they're looking for mentors, but they're also someone who has that spirit of wanting to serve that community.
Yeah, so really motivation to be part of this organization is really key, right? So what else do you look for in your Rotarians? What makes a Rotarian a good Rotarian?
Jesse, I just think that just my time as serving as a Rotarian, the four-way test means a lot to me. And I really believe when I look in our community, I look at people with the integrity and the values that hold truth to, is it the truth? Is it fair? And how they treat other business people. I think there's a lot of successful business people that I honestly don't know would be a good Rotarian.
Yes.
And that's just my personal feeling. So I really look at, if I'm looking to recruit and find good potential Rotarians, I'm going to look at them as, I'm going to put them up against the four-way test personally and say, does this person do these things before they would come in and actually commit themselves to say this every week with us? And that's just my personal views. And I think that's a life lesson, not just the four-way test, but how they value and how they're morally standard in the community. I think that's very important.
Absolutely. So we're talking about we're looking for people with the motivation to do this kind of work, and the four-way test, the whole attitude and belief system that encompasses. What else do we look for in Rotarians? What do we need our Rotarians to do? What? Work.
So if I may, one thing that seems to work for our chapter is people seem to find recruits in the active people in their local churches. Typically the four-way test and being a churchgoer, pretty much any faith, right, would pretty similar paradigm there.
Okay. I've got a couple of other ideas, but I think they'll become evident as we go on. Let's talk about where we find these people. I think you mentioned your church. That could be one. Where else are we going to find our new members? Who else proposed somebody? Has everybody here proposed a member yet?
I proposed our superintendent. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
I was on our local school board for 8 years. And so my last year, I actually proposed our superintendent. And so I think looking for potential good Rotarians is only good business people. There's also leaders in our community. So you're looking at your schools you're looking, you know, at things like that, that you have people who are serving in different capacities. You know, we have county commissioners, we have village council members, we have a village manager who's actually a friend of Rotary, not a full-time member of Rotary, but a friend of Rotary. So I think you also look at your leaders in the community as becoming potential good Rotarians.
Okay. So you're looking for leadership. Are you looking for particular skills? I think somebody's got a phone call going on in the background.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of.
Yeah, if somebody's got a side conversation going, maybe mute your mic for a little while. How about skills? How many people here have a PR or an advertising person in their club?
And we have representatives of our local newspaper.
Okay, there you go.
We have a couple of professional photographers. That's what their businesses are, and that makes a difference. We have someone who's in advertising on the local newspaper. And that seems to make a difference too. That helps us make sure that we get things out into the local community.
So, I think that's a really key role, somebody that can present to the world what your message is. So
we have media as well. We have radio announcers on 2 different radio stations that are members of our Rotary and
okay. So we'd like a variety of skills. We'll get back to that a little more. Our question 2 here, discuss the makeup of your club. Does it reflect your community by way of age, gender, race, religion, classification? These are things to think about as you search for members. So are your clubs pretty representative of different ages?
Yes.
That does remind me. This came up in discussion at our last board meeting. What is the normal minimum age for Rotary versus, say, establishing a Rotaract club?
Right now, I know that Rotary clubs are accepting people in their early 20s. I think there may have been standards in the past. I think the way Rotary is evolving, if you've got somebody that is enthused, has the right 4-way test belief system, will participate and contribute, if they're 21, why not? Anybody else have a thought on that?
I think if someone's interested in being a Rotarian, who are we to say no?
Yeah. If they match those qualities we looked at earlier. Bruce, did you have something there?
Yes. And a way of introducing myself to the rest of the group, since I missed the introductions early on. I was the district membership chair for 3 years back in about 3 or 4 years ago. And there used to be a misconception that you had to be 35 years old to become a Rotarian. And the reason that was widely thought was because the definition of a Rotaract, a member of a Rotaract club, was Rotaractors were anybody from age 21 to 35. So if people took that to mean, okay, you got to be 35 to be a Rotarian. That's not true. So basically anyone can be a Rotarian. There's no minimum age that I'm aware of, as long as they can meet the financial requirements of the club and have a desire to serve and meet any other requirements that your board sets. They can be a member.
Cool.
Yeah,
How about gender? We have
confusion that our group had in our last meeting. Yeah.
How about gender? Are we all pretty well represented with females?
I think we're getting better. I'm in a club that is, there are 2 clubs where we are, and the club that is relatively new has a really good split. Our club is the much older club in town, and there's probably still maybe we're lucky to be at like 20% women.
Yeah.
But in saying that, we have a lot of members that have been members of that club for 30 years. So I think they're doing a really good job of trying to increase the number of women. And in fact, the time that I've been there, all but one of the new members have been women. So I think they're working hard at it.
Okay. I'm going to jump to the last topic in that question. Does it reflect your community? By classification. Does everybody here know what we mean by classification?
I don't.
Okay.
I was going to say, I was secretary for 2 years before I became president-elect, and it was very specific. Some of my patriarchs were very specific when we were recruiting new members. And I'm just guessing when you're saying classification, they gave me a piece of paper that was double-sided that they were very specific on. You can't have 30 bankers in Rotary, and you can't have, so they wanted to make sure that everyone was classified, that we were diverse, that we were not all in the same classification of business. Is that what you mean?
That is it. And when it originally started out, it was you cannot have 2 bankers, you can't have 2 auto dealers, you can't have 2 engineers. And it was something of a protectionist mechanism. But even that aside, do we see the value in doing this? What if you had a club that was all bankers? Does that work?
Well, I'm not sure it would. And the only reason I say that is, and we do have several. We try not to go over the limit. But I think you have to be careful in your competitiveness. You're still in business. And, as Rotarians, we want to be fair and equitable amongst everyone. And, we have speakers that come in and talk to us, every week. We have obviously, doing that. And I think you just have to be cautious when you do that. I don't think you should exclude. I'm not saying that either. Mm-hmm. But I think you have to have a good, healthy balance in your classification.
Yes, I think that's key. You want balance. Why do you want these different people? Do they have skills?
I'm sorry, you broke out.
Do the different people have skills that you might use, such as the PR person?
Okay, so the different bankers might have different skills?
Yeah, bankers have different skills. I mean,
they do, and what's good about our bankers is we do have we have turnover, some, in Ruidoso, and so you have someone come in that is new, some people who have been Rotarians in their communities before they moved to Ruidoso. So I think they can add, definitely is an asset to us, definitely doesn't take away from us, and our club specifically.
So go ahead.
In my dad's time, they had to find a way of classifying them such that he could join, because he joined back when they had the no 2 of the same kind. So he was military, so they just picked one of the weirder jobs in his career and let him go in as submariner or something like that. Yeah, because they already had a Navy guy.
Like in my case, mine was software development. So, okay. I was software. Well, there could have been a software reseller, and I could have been a software developer.
There you go.
Yeah, it was a creative game.
Yeah, and so I think they recognized that he would bring energy to the club, that he would help get things done, be a potential leader and mover. So they found a way to wedge him in. So I'm glad to hear that policy has gone away.
That's interesting. They had to be really
it has gone away, but I think. Well. Go ahead.
I said they had to be really creative with mine. I'm an attorney who can't practice in the state that I'm currently living in. I've worked for the last 6 years as a professor, and I'm currently the executive director of a nonprofit. So how do you classify me? So in the end, we decided that the best classification was that of advocacy. So no matter what my roles are, I've always been an advocate. So in the end, my club classified me as someone involved in advocacy.
Yeah.
But it's almost impossible. Like, how do you classify someone who's had a wide range of experience or military or whatever else?
Right.
It's complicated sometimes.
But to a large extent, we don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But my message is just give some credence to it, because advocacy, you have a skill set, a set of contacts, people you know and deal with, that's going to be different than a banker. It's going to be different than a lawyer or a doctor. So let's see. Let's go back to, I do want some time. Discuss how your club should conduct your membership campaign. How do they recruit new members? How do you invite new members? I'm going to turn this over to you. This is the way we run Rio Grande Academy at Rotary Leadership Institute. We really want you to contribute, you to drive as much as you can, and get me to stop talking. So what we're going to do is I've got everybody assigned to a breakout session. I'm going to press the magic button here in a minute. And what I want you to do is in your group, work on a new member campaign. Who are you going to pursue? How are you going to pursue them? How are you going to bring them in? And I would really like everybody to look at this membership process chart. I think it guides you to a lot of the key topics. Now you all have that, so you don't need to see it up on my screen anymore. So does everybody understand where we're heading?
I think
Is
so.
anybody?
Good.
Okay.
Jesse, do you want to explain what our role will be in the group with them?
Yes, good point. So the idea here is the group is going to talk it through. So you're going to pick your own leader interaction, and we're going to have Bruce and Mary and Jeff in these sessions, and they'll help you because they're going to be scribes. They'll have a whiteboard where they can type out stuff that's your summary.
I don't know how well mine's going to work, Jesse.
Well, I'll do it on mine, Mary.
Okay. So it'll be Jeff.
I'm going to practice.
And then the way this technology works, I'll be able to jump back and forth between the two groups. So I'll tell you what, we will give you, day 10, we'll give you 15 minutes, day 25, and then we'll get back together and hear what each of the groups comes up with.
Jesse, before we break out, did you see the chats from William and Bryant?
No.
Both of them are having difficulty speaking without getting a lot of interference, so they're not going to be able to participate. They'll listen, monitor what's going on, but they can't talk.
It was Thomas and Bryant, right?
Okay. Well, we're just going to give it
William. I'm sorry, not Thomas, William.
William. Okay.
No,
So we're going to give it a
Thomas
try.
is the one that's going to run into some trouble.
Okay, we'll give it a try, 15 minutes, and then we'll get back together, see how this works. You probably all see a message right now that says you're going to be going to a session, right?
Right.
You can go on your own, or it's going to, I believe, transfer you automatically pretty soon. Okay, I'm along, right?
We're back.
Okay, so I believe, what did it say? What, you had 20 seconds or something?
27.
Yeah. So in just a little bit more, everybody else should be back in.
All right.
There we go, getting everybody. Okay, let's see. Jeff, why don't we start with your side? Whoever is going to be your spokesman, why don't y'all take over for a couple of minutes here?
Yeah.
Well, there are a number of things that people shared what they're currently doing with their membership campaigns. And then we just tried to stimulate some thoughts about what else could we do, or maybe think outside of the box a little bit in attracting other members. On the very end, it was John who was sharing that they lost a member due to a job transfer, and he's trying to find out who that person's replacement is, and I think he's going to track them down and invite that person. So these are some of the things we came up with.
Okay, any others there you want to talk about? I see a free breakfast in there.
Well, and one of the big things is it's not your grandfather's Rotary. And we said that that's something RI is trying to recreate us. And William shared that he's still pondering on number 9. What can Rotary do for you, and what can you do for Rotary? You know, to ask those questions. William, why don't you talk about that? You can do it better than me.
Okay. Well, like there's a couple people that maybe I have specifically in mind. You know, they know about Rotary. They've been invited to Rotary, but they're super busy. You know, they are involved in the community. They're, you know, doing several volunteer programs already. Not necessarily through a let's say rival club like Lions or something, but you know, through their workplace or something. But you know, they're already super heavily taxed with tasks, and you know, what would be a good way to say to them, hey, you know, you're super busy, but how about you join Rotary? And you know, yes, it's an expense, you know, but it's worth it because you know.
Are you familiar with satellite clubs, or I don't know, it's called a web club, I think? And that can sometimes address the needs of those people who don't feel they can take the expense or the time, but they can still be considered part of your club, especially a satellite club.
Well, our city definitely doesn't have any satellite clubs or online clubs. We're just our little selves.
I understand that there's one that's having great successes up in Los Alamos. So maybe you can talk to your AG.
Well, let me jump in here because I would like to expand on that just a little bit. Satellite clubs are just one of the topics that are talked about in what's called the membership cadre. Have many of you been involved in that yet? I'm not hearing response, so I'm assuming the answer is no. We have down here in El Paso, it's being offered by our zone. It's above the district. It's a zone level activity. And Dick Jones in our district has been the key person in rolling this out to our district. For people that have been trained in some membership, recruiting, campaign topics, things like satellite clubs, and especially since a lot of you are president-elects, I would like you to consider thinking about having the membership cadre come talk to your club, to your area, and help you brainstorm ways to improve membership.
Yep.
Mary, I want to give the other group a chance to say a little bit about what they came up with. So, Bruce, you want to, or whoever's going to lead there. Bruce, you're muted.
There we go. Now you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me go ahead and run through. I'll go ahead and share my screen. I'm not as good note taker as Jeff is, so hold on a minute. There we go. And what do I want to share? Okay, can you see now my notes?
No.
Not yet.
No.
How about now?
No.
No. Yes.
Now we're getting it.
There you go.
There we go. I just forgot what buttons to hit. Okay, so here's what we came up with. We followed the membership process. It started with that. We only got through the find them portion of it and not so much to bring them in. But in the discussion on finding them and specifically qualifications, we were looking for people with good character. We were going to use the four-way test as our guide for that. In particular, that translates into honesty and integrity. And I thought this is interesting. Would need to have, and these people need to have skin in the game. In other words, I translated that meaning they need to be involved because they feel the need to be involved because they're there for a reason and they want to make sure that the club is going to progress because they want to see the club. They want to see the club succeed. They're looking for people with new ideas, new blood, some excitement. I'm getting the impression that some people are looking at their clubs and saying, we got the same old thing and nobody wants to step up. It's the way we've always done business. They need to get away from that. And of course, that means they need to have these new people need to have a willingness to serve. And then we're looking for also people with dedication and stability. And by that, is they need to have the wherewithal to remain in the club in order to meet their financial obligations, as well as the service end of it and get involved. And that all translates to people who are willing to do things rather than watch other people do things. We got a little bit into the where to look for them: friends, family, organizations that Rotary contributes to. That's not a bad idea at all. Is these people that are benefiting not just from your club, but from other clubs maybe, or from Rotary International, whatever. That might be fertile ground to find potential members from. Business contacts, and we talked about even former Rotarians. And Mary, I talked about your club. The fact that the Sandia Club that's how they were formed, with a group of former Rotarians who came from another club in town.
Other than us newbies.
Yeah. And then I started typing something and then I lost it because we moved back. But anyway, so one of the things that I wanted to discuss here was the question was, how can we be sure that these people are the right people, that they are going to be dedicated and have some stability? And here's what I suggest, and our club tried this. Unfortunately, we let it get away from us. We're not doing it anymore. I think we will start doing it again. And that is, when we have people that are recommended for, to join the Rotary, they are proposed to join a club, it's not a bad idea before you go much further than that. To get with them, I would suggest the president, maybe the membership chair, have lunch with that person, or at least get together maybe at their place of business, and they talk and that have a meeting with them to discuss expectation. And that is, we want to know from potential Rotarians what their expectations are from the Rotary Club. What do they expect to get out of that? And then they need to know what the club expects of them. And that means we want them to be members in good standing. That's attendance and meeting the financial obligations of the club. We've lost a number of people in our club who simply couldn't do one or the other. And it's mostly financial. So can they meet the financial obligations? Are we going to be able to meet their expectations of what they want to get accomplished in the club? Do they want to see, for example, certain projects and things like that? Do they want to get involved with a particular area? So I think this expectation thing is a good idea, and it's something that should be done before. Ooh, there's a lot of background noise there.
Yeah, I think somebody's.
At any rate, it should be something that's done before the person's inducted, all right? And then it's too late. So,
Well, thank you.
I'll just throw that out.
Okay. I think we're kind of at the end of our time. I do want to thank you all for doing this. This was our first our very first time to try breakout sessions. So we're just still getting the feeling for how this is going to work. But at least when we're face to face, the breakout sessions are really one of the really special parts because everybody gets to participate and really be part of everything. So at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Jeff.
All right. Well, very quickly, I just want to thank everyone. I have to remind everyone, including myself, that we are still piloting this technology. This is very new. We're learning as we go. And as Jesse pointed out, these breakout rooms are new. So thank you for kind of being our guinea pigs for this year in seeing how this works. There's a lot of people that are interested in using this as a way to get out to clubs that are not near a location where we typically do RGA training. So we thank you very much. I'm going to be sending out a link tomorrow for a survey. Since we're not meeting again until next week, we're going to send out the survey tomorrow so you can kind of have fresh in your mind, how did today go? But then next week, you'll get another survey for what you get next week. So you'll actually do it in two halves just because we don't want you to forget anything. Real quickly, let's see, Rhonda, I did email you the materials. If you didn't get them, please let me know. I want to make sure I've got the correct email address for you. Jesse, I just need you to stay on the line for 1 minute about the recording.
Okay.
We really do appreciate it. This has been very helpful. Hopefully this was a good session for you, and we will see you all next week.
Thank you.
Celebrate, Jeff.
Yes, celebrate.
Bye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead and hang up on your end because I do need to keep Jesse on the line.
And maybe by the next time we meet, somebody will be a billionaire.
Oh, that'd be great.
Whoa. That would be a
I
celebration.
volunteer.
Go, Rhonda.
All right, so Jesse, it didn't dawn on me until I did that, handed you the controls for the breakout rooms, that once I did that, you would be the only one that could do the recording. Because when I tried to record, it said, you need permission from the host to record. So you recorded.
Right.
I think next time I'll click record and then see if I can change the host. But in any event, when we end, you're going to get a prompt that's going to download or basically make an MP4 video.
Right.
And I'm going to get one for my session. And then I post them on YouTube. So easiest thing may be to set up like a Dropbox folder.
Sure.
Put the video in because it'll be a pretty large file.
Okay. I'll do that. I'll put it in there and I'll just give you the link.
Okay.
How did you get your pages on the screen? You just go and find those pages and then pull them up?
They have to be open first so that when you click on share screen, it knows what is out there for you to share. So if you want to share, let's say, a PDF file, you have to open it first and then share it. Or you just say share your whole desktop and then you open up whatever you want to open. But I always try to have everything open at first and then share whatever I want people to see.
So then I would hit on share screen for that to show?
Yeah, and then when you share screen, it gives you the option, what do you want to share? And it says you either share your whole desktop or you share anything that you have that's open.
Okay. All right, I'm going to practice tomorrow and the next day.
Okay.
And
real quick, how did the breakouts go? I mean, we were in ours. We had 2 people that had an issue, and I'm not sure why. Most of them did log in early to test, but a few of them didn't, and I think they were the ones that had issues.
Yeah,
Well, I think everybody got into a session, one or the other, but I think it was still kind of a challenge that several people had no video. And
yeah.
Yeah, Bryant was in my section. He had sent a chat that he was not able to talk, so he was just going to monitor.
That was Evelyn Bryant, Fred's wife.
Oh, Evelyn. Oh, okay. Why am we only seeing the last name?
She just put in her last name.
Oh.
But initially, we put in her first name, but she was she was on the phone. There were a couple people that were on the phone and they were doing video but not audio. And Evelyn was getting a lot of feedback. And when she sent that chat, she was saying, I'm getting a lot of feedback. And then she tried something else. So that's why it's really good to come in early, make sure everything's working. I'm not sure why she had the feedback. But I think if
on the thing about the name, since you would have probably the names of everybody and you're the master coordinator, I suspect you might actually be able to update all the names so that
I could
put her whole name in.
So I updated names when I was hosting, but when I handed over control, I didn't think I was able to go in and do things like change names or stuff like that. But during the strategic planning, I was changing like phone numbers to names.
Okay.
But yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you talk to Evelyn, apologize for her to her for me, because I thought that was first name. I thought it was somebody by the name of Brian.
Sorry about that. Well, I also do send out the spreadsheets with who is participating, so we can all kind of take a look and see who's out there. Everyone who signed up was in today, including minutes.
I think those who could participate, that we had their audio anyway. I thought it was a very good group, and they really jumped in and participated, which was great.
Yeah.
That was my sense when I went into both groups. It felt like people were getting engaged.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Monday, when we do first half of part one, we're supposed to have more people. So we may decide to have 3 breakout groups if we have enough facilitators. So
yeah, I have a lesson learned for us. That is, when we go to the breakout rooms, and if we should not be simply recorders. I had to step in a couple of times to keep them on track and to get past the very first. We were using the membership process as our guide, and we never got past find them because they kept wanting to talk about qualifications.
Yeah, I noticed Rhonda really wanted
we need to stop here because I only knew we had 15 minutes. We were 10 minutes into it, and I couldn't get them. They kept going back. The qualification said, no, let's talk about where we can find these people now because we want to talk about how to bring them in a minute. We never got that far.
And we sometimes have that in real life anyway, right?
Yeah, but we can help out by saying, look, I'm going to, and I should have done this at the beginning, I should have said, we have 3 things we want to do, and that is to find them and bring them in, and I'll let you know when we need to switch. But they kept wanting to go back to talk about qualifications. Which points out something that we need to realize, and that is that's their main concern. Is too many times clubs have brought people in that were disasters, and for one way or the other, and so that seems to be the qualification thing's a big deal with them.
Yep.
That's interesting because we didn't talk about that at all. We talked about what do they do currently and what could they do differently. How could they tweak that?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Interesting.
But overall, I felt pleased with how it went.
Yeah, I did too. I think it worked pretty good. I wish that everybody in my group could have participated, but probably better next time.
And Jeff, on that, I mean, I noticed several people didn't have video. The ones that didn't have video, they all just weren't able to. Is that what it was?
Yes. Now, like people like William, we couldn't see him, but he could see us, and he was very engaged and active.
Yes, he was.
But he couldn't talk.
No,
yes, he could. He wasn't talking.
It was Thomas that couldn't talk.
Oh, why did I have William's name then?
But, so there are a few cases where, for whatever reason, they didn't have a camera or something, but they were able to see the screen. They had either a microphone or a phone, a phone that they were using. And that's not the worst thing because they're still active and we can still see that it's William speaking because all of a sudden you're seeing a border around William's box. So it's him talking.
Right.
That's so yeah, there were a few people that didn't have their video working, but it worked okay.
Oh,
okay.
I didn't realize the border. I heard people talk sometimes, and I kept thinking, who is that?
Yeah, no, you'll always see
a green border.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at yours now. You see a border around Jeff?
Yeah, around you.
No, it's around you when you spoke.
Now, yeah.
Now it's
Keep
Bruce.
talking and we'll watch it flip.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about both the strategic planning and this one is almost the entire time we had a document up. And all that video stuff was moved to the right or moved to the top. And Zoom will, if it works right, even if you're not seeing everyone at any one time, whoever is speaking, they will show up as one of those top 4 in your scroll.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
Right.
you can kind of, so you can't necessarily, unless you're scrolling, see who's not speaking. But as soon as someone speaks, you're going to see them or their box or whatever. So.
Hey, Jeff, is there, I noticed that whenever you shared your screen all the way through the first lesson.
Right.
And I was not able to look at anything else but that.
Actually, there is a way, Bruce. And I did it. Up at the top, there's a button that'll say options.
Uh-huh.
You can click on it and say leave full screen.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, because I did that. I had other things up on my screen.
Yeah, I wanted to do something else, but full screen.
Well, it says gallery view. If you maybe find that, Bruce.
Okay.
And I think what happens
see this button right now because nobody's
So
sharing.
if I leave full screen, I can still see what Jeff has that he's sharing, but I can also see my desktop.
Yeah.
Here,
Okay.
hold on. Let me share something.
Well, I'm sharing.
Oh, you're sharing. Okay, there it goes. Look at the top. See options?
Right.
Wait,
Click
where?
on options.
Where? Oh,
At
on
the
the
very
top.
top of your
Got it.
screen.
All right.
Options, exit full screen.
Okay. Now all that did was move the boxes to the top of the screen. Everything else, I'm still only seeing what
Yeah.
the strategic
agree.
planning and analysis page.
You
Yeah.
should be able to resize that.
Or maybe, oh wait, hold on. Yeah, okay, yeah, I can slide it out of the way.
Yep. It just becomes another window.
Okay.
How did you slide it out of the way?
I just go over and then until I get the double arrow. And then I can move it all over and make it smaller, and then I can see what else is on my.
Yeah. At that point, it's just like another window, like you had a Word file or a spreadsheet or anything else.
Right.
Okay, well, but I haven't figured that out. Enter
You
screen.
see options, right?
Options, okay.
And did you do exit full screen?
Yeah, I did that. And I got that. But Bruce said you can slide that over and then he could see something else.
Well, you should be able to open up like your mail or a Word file while you still have this screen. It's just
Oh,
screen.
okay, I got it. I got you now.
Okay.
Okay,
Ah.
all right.
All right, folks. So
Yeah.
Jesse,
Hey, Jeff, can you hang on just a minute? I got something I need to talk to you about.
sure. So Jesse,
But I-
we'll do a Dropbox or something to share that video, and then I'll post them on YouTube over the weekend.
Okay. Real good.
And yes, so Bruce, I'll stay on.
Okay, now I've lost my video here. Hold on a minute.
And as I practice, if I come up with something, I'll email you guys
You got it.
if I need to. Okay? Great. Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Sleep tight.